to the Darby Creek Diaries. I'm Gail Thompson, and I'm so grateful that you've stopped by to visit today. We're going to make a fun shaker card that's sort of shaped kind of like a goldfish bowl. You know, let's be real, it's not, but it's really fun. And I started out with these nesting hexagon dies from Waffle Flour. And I happen to have, I keep my leftovers in the back. And I had a leftover of a watercolor I did using the salt technique. If you've never done that, take coarse salt over wet watercolor and just let it dry, and it'll give you kind of, splotchy stuff. So it's pretty cool. And I thought, well, that's already done. So let's get started. I have the Gina K Just Keep Swimming set, and I already stamped them out. And I use Gina K Designs amalgam ink, which works really well if you haven't decided what kind of medium you're using. I wound up using Inktense watercolor pencils, and I'm not going to color for you because I wouldn't waste your time doing that. But I did want to show you the Inktense watercolor pencils are inexpensive. You can get them at an art store. And look, it really does, brighten up when you it and you can draw it out a little better. I'm not the expert in that, so I'm not gonna lie to you. So I die cut several of the hexagons out of the largest hexagon, and now I need to score the top of it so that we can have a fold for our card. And this is Brutus Monroe, not your mama's cardstock. And it's super thick, which makes it super hard to score. But we got it done. And now we're getting out some score tape, and that's my nemesis half the time, but it's super strong and it needs to be super strong. This is 1/4 inch thick, I believe, and I'm just going to place it along the top. And I missed a little spot, so I just stick a little glue on the ends there because it's kind of hard to judge. And then I'm just laying the top part of the card on that, and then just I don't even really wait to let it dry, and then I fold it back, and now you have a standing octagonal card. Now this was a kind of a mistake. I show you everything, warts and all. Well, I thought I might be embossing on this, heat embossing, so I used the ultra thick heat resistant acetate, and I later uh, kind of live to regret that because A, I didn't heat emboss on it, and B, it is super, super hard to crease. And it would be so much easier, and actually, it would look better when you're doing whole card shakers to just use a thinner acetate. So you'll see that I kind of struggle with it here and there. I do notch off the edges to make it a little bit easier to fold, but man, oh man, it it really made everything tougher to do. So do not do as I say and not as I do. I'm finishing notching up the corners, which I would do no matter how thick it was. But um, this is where I start folding back, and it really, really, it took some doing. I didn't want to crack it, but it didn't seem like it was going to crack, but you never know. So I just put my card base down and just ran along the parallel line that was on my scoreboard and just kept turning and pushing and turning and pushing. And you just keep swimming, as the stamp set says, because I'm not smart enough to give up and change stuff. No, no, no. I just suffer. But then all of us learn from it. So I'm about done with this first attempt of scoring. So here are my little guys, just simply colored, nothing special. So I wanted to make them a little more special because you can never have too much bling. So I'm just spritzing them with a little bit of Glimmer Mist. The brand I'm using I can't find anymore, but any glimmer mist will do. And I'm also spraying, you can sort of see that I'm spraying it on the background on the watercolor. There you go. You can see it there. And now I am going to start decorating. So I figured, oh, let's have sand on the bottom like a real beach. So I'm trying to smooth out some glue and just, because I just want a thin layer and just using plain old sand, just play sand from the hardware store, or if you're at a beach, just grab some sand. It's free. Then I'm kind of pushing it down and I waiting for it to dry before I went on to my next step, which was, was bringing back that score tape for another try because it really needed to be strong and glue would take too long to dry and I could have gotten out some clips or whatever, but at least it dries instantly when you have the score tape. You just have to be careful how you lay it so that you can get that release tape off. Now I'm just gluing everything, putting it in place. There's no real rhyme or reason here. I did decide to tuck a little fish in behind there to give it a little dimension. It is kind of fun to glue on sand, but it's not too bad. And my glue does dry matte, so that's good. And you just hold it down for a second. I should have used maybe a little more sand, but you know, hindsight's 2020. I hope that you are doing well and having a wonderful summer if it's summer in your hemisphere. Uh, it's it's been pretty nice here in Ohio the last week or so. Not ridiculously hot. And so I have been outside trying to get some projects done, not terribly successfully, but trying, uh, getting ready for fall and having, my fence and my deck and everything done. I'm pulling up the paint on my deck by hand, just with my fingers in strips. And it's very tedious, but in other ways, it's very satisfying. I just wish my deck wasn't quite so big. So I'm looking now the rule when you have newspapers. I used to have a journal. I have a journalism degree. I don't used to. I have it. But the thing is you want to keep everything facing into the page. And so I kind of struggled with that, but the little guy at the top, he's looking down, but everybody else is looking into the page. You never want to draw somebody's eye away from your whatever your focal point is, which would be your card front. So I'm gluing some bubble gems. I think these are bubble bath. I know they're from Trinity Stamps. She's got several bubbles, and I'll have it all linked below for you. And I'm trying to find the teeny tiny ones and just gluing away and having some fun. Oh, these are bubble blowers. So they do look like little bubbles and the little guys are awful cute. So now we're back to the nemesis, the thick acetate. So here we go. I'm just pressing it, making sure I got everything down as best I can. And I did not notch clear to the corners because I knew I was putting, glitter and things in there and I didn't want it dumping out the side. So here we go. I'm sticking in our background and I'm going to leave one edge open. And I look to make sure that it's, right side up, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just sticking shaker bits in. But hey, you just do some things out of habit. I've put a lot of cards on upside down, but this one really doesn't matter. And I'm getting rid of that release tape and just carefully with my knife. I didn't stab myself this time, which, that's a that's one point for me because I typically do. And I'm folding everything down and then I'm going to take my bone folder and crease it really well. And then now I'm checking again. So I put the stuff down from the top. That's just silly. But here we go. I have some glitter. This glitter is years and years old. I really don't know. I think I got it at Michael's a million years ago. This is the Lawn Fawn Prismaglitter. So I stuck some of that in there, and I had used my powder tool at one point on the acetate that it wasn't on screen, unfortunately. But I do recommend that you run the powder tool gently over the acetate because you don't want to really see powder on the inside, but it helps with the static. So now I'm folding everything in, and there is the shakety shake part of the shaker. And of course, there's glitter everywhere because that's just how I roll. I added some extra tape to the back because we still got to mount this to the front of our card base. So here we go. Hey, and if you're watching this far, I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that you're subscribed. I'm getting awful close to 3,000. So if you haven't subscribed, I really would appreciate it. Thumbs ups are awesome too. And hit that bell because I am a little sporadic because of all my other things I have to do. So that way you'll know when I get a new video up. Now I'm going to squish this all on, and later I clipped it for a little bit. I think that that really helped squish down that really thick acetate. But there's our little card. And then I decided I thought that I do believe that everything needs to be grounded with a little black. Gina K does too. But I actually learned that from a Trading Spaces show. One of the designers always said every room needs a little black. So I decided to make a frame so it would just kind of finish it off. Well, the biggest octagon I had already used. So this is the same size, and this is why that acetate really made a difference because since it didn't fold quite as sharply, it does show a little bit, and I can't really stretch I might have been able to mess around and do something, but I didn't. So I am just going to place this on the front. And I mean, you know what? It's handmade, not Hallmark, but you really could get away with it if you went ahead and used thin acetate. But I did not, and I wasn't pitching the project. However, I did move it so that at least most of it was on the bottom, most of it. And I decided to make like a little base. And I just took it off the back and you just measured it real quick off of and on a scrap and angle cut that, added a little glue because I was a little short on the tape again, and then just covered it up with a little base. So there you go. It stands up, it does all that it's supposed to do for a shaker, and it's super cute. But you know, live and learn. But like I said, I wouldn't be honest if everything was perfect. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget the items are linked below that I used, or at least most of them. I hope you'll subscribe and like and check out my playlist. Come back and see me real soon. Bye bye.